Good afternoon to our Professor Dr. Madrid and to my fellow classmates. Today I am going to present the comparative analysis of Japan English to our American Standard English. English is studied as a second language in junior high school or high school in Japan, and Japanese students study hard to master English during their school days. However, Japanese people often have difficulty in making themselves understood in English when they actually talk to a native English speaker. There are certain differences in utterances between native speakers of English and themselves. Thus, they have the phenomenon known as Japanese English. This is according to a research study in pitch patterns of Japanese English indicated in the slide. Now, the English alphabet has 26 letters from A to Z. These can be written in lowercase or uppercase, while Japanese, on the other hand, has three separate writing systems. The first Japanese alphabet is called hiragana. There are 46 characters with an additional 20 extra formations and several other forms that can take this number even higher. Then there's what you call katakana. These are different characters symbolizing the same sounds as hiragana. So there are same number of katakana as hiragana. Katakana are used instead of hiragana for many reasons. For example, to write foreign words in Japanese and to write loan words. They are also used for emphasis and to represent Japanese and to write loan words. They're also for emphasis and to represent onomatopoeia. You can often see katakana used to spell technical and scientific terms and for names of plants, animals, and minerals. Japanese companies and brands may choose to use katakana for their name in the same way an English language brand would use a special font. We also have what you call your kanji. Kanji are characters adapted from Chinese. The average Japanese speaker will know over 2,000 kanji, with many knowing anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000. This is very different to the English language with 26 letters. Another important difference is the lack of uppercase letters in Japanese. English uses uppercase letters and capital letters and has rules for this. However, capital letters are used for proper nouns starting a sentence and also the title cases. There are many rules that an English speaker implicitly knows but are aliens to an English learner. We go now to the phonological analysis of the Japanese language. So why do you think Japanese pronounce English poorly? To answer that question, Japanese has fewer sounds than English. In Japanese language, they have 5 vowel sounds and 19 consonant sounds. We also have this particular table. In English, vowel systems, there are 15 different vowels identified, which include several diphthongs such as ow, I, u. On the other hand, Japanese has only 5 vowels in its vowel inventory, a system quite common among many natural languages in the world. Although the number of vowels that can be identified in English and Japanese can differ depending on different analysis of linguists or phoneticians, it is obvious that there are considerably more vowels in English than in Japanese, as seen in your table 1. The source of this study is shown to the upper right corner of the slide, phonological differences between Japanese and English. This is the consonant sounds of English language. We also have, and this is the Japanese language. The table 3 shows the consonant system of each language, clearly illustrates the fact that there are more consonants in English than in Japanese. In the vertical column of manner of articulation, we can notice that there is no affricate sound in Japanese. Then looking at the horizontal column of place of articulation, there is a variety of fricatives and affricates, which are much more widely distributed in English than in Japanese, and do not exist in the Japanese consonant system. So I will be sharing about videos with this particular topic. So let us please watch.
Compared to other languages like English and French, Japanese has a relatively small number of vowels. This might make you think that learning Japanese vowels is easy. However, this is not necessarily the case. Some aspects of Japanese vowels are still challenging for native speakers of languages with many vowels. One example of these challenges is the distinction between short and long vowels, which we will cover in another tutorial video. In this video, we will focus on the 5 short vowels. Japanese has 5 vowels. These vowels are shown in the first column of the 46 basic sounds of Japanese. They are
a, I, U, E, O.
Now, let's start with
A.
The Japanese
A.
is called a low central vowel. As you can imagine from the name, when you pronounce this sound, your tongue is positioned at a lower level on the vertical dimension and at a central region along the front to back dimension. This sound is similar to the sound of the letter A in the English word father. The second vowel is
I.
Japanese
I.
is called a high front vowel. Again, as the name tells you, when you pronounce this sound, your tongue is positioned at a higher level on the vertical dimension and at a front position on the front to back dimension. This vowel is similar to the sound of the double E in the English word feet. The third vowel is
U.
The Japanese
U.
is called a high back vowel. When you pronounce this sound, your tongue is positioned at a higher level on the vertical dimension and at a back position on the front to back dimension. This vowel is similar to the sound of the double O in the English word cook. The fourth vowel is
E.
The Japanese
E.
is called a mid-front vowel. When you pronounce this sound, your tongue is positioned at a middle height on the vertical dimension and at a front position on the front to back dimension. This vowel is similar to the sound of the letter E in the English word pet. But the Japanese
E.
might sound a bit more open. This is probably one of the reasons why some students sometimes confuse
E.
and
A.
in some words. For example, it is commonly seen that the word
勉強
is mispronounced as
番強
or the word
映画
is mispronounced as
愛画
the last vowel is
お
the Japanese
お
is called a mid-back vowel. When you pronounce this sound, your tongue is positioned at a middle height on the vertical dimension and at a back position on the front to back dimension. This vowel is similar to the sound of the letter O in the English word so. In this video, you have learned the 5 vowels of Japanese,
あいうえお
along with some English words that have similar sounds. First of all,
りゃりゅりょ
are not just simple consonants, but consonant clusters, where a consonant is followed by another consonant. In English, there are lots of consonant clusters, such as strike, plain, three, and small. In Japanese, all consonant clusters end with Y and a vowel. English also has the Y sound after a consonant, for example, cute, mute, and fuse. The Y sound does not appear in the English spelling, but you can hear it between the first consonant and the vowel oo. But the Y sound never occurs after the R sound in English. In other words, the RY consonant cluster does not exist in English. Another reason that learners find difficulty in articulating this sound is, as we saw in the
らりる
video, the first consonant of the Japanese
らりる
sounds, although they are spelled with an R, are different from an English R. The Japanese
らりる
sounds have to have a contact between the tip of the tongue and the alveolar ridge. It's similar to the D sound in ladder. Now listen and compare
らりる
and the new sounds we will learn here.
らりゃるりゅろりょ
How do we actually pronounce these sounds? Let's find out. First, say
り
make sure that your tongue is touching the roof of your mouth, as we learned in the
らりる
video.
りりり
Then, follow that with the corresponding vowels. For example, if you're practicing
りゅ
say
りゅ
and increase the speed as you repeat it.
りゅりゅりゅりゅりゅりゅりゅりゅりゅりゅ
As you repeat it more quickly, your tongue shape will get close to when you pronounce.
りゅ
Remember that tongue shape. Now say,
留学生
did you pronounce it properly? You can follow the same steps with
りゃ
and.
りょ
In this video, we have learned that
りゃりゅりょ
are hard to learn because they are consonant clusters containing the
らりる
sound, which is also hard to pronounce. We have also learned how to pronounce.
りゃりゅりょ
Besides simply improving communication, one advantage of learning intonation is that some words only vary by their intonation. Compare
雨
and
雨
in the Tokyo dialect of Japanese. When you say
雨
it means rain, but when you say
雨
it means candy. Here we'll present the three types of word-level intonation patterns. Number 1, low-high. Number 2, low-high-low. Number 3, high-low. Let's look at some examples of these patterns. Low-high.
行く行く私私学生学生
Low-high-low.
先生先生ありがとうありがとうハンバーガーハンバーガー失礼します失礼します
High-low.
今今テニステニス帰る帰るビジネスビジネス
In these three patterns, you can see two rules for Japanese intonation. The first rule says that the first sound and the second sound need to have different pitches. This is clear from our list of examples. We don't have any words here that start with low-low or high-high. The second rule says that once the pitch goes down, it doesn't go up again. For example, there are no low-high, low-high or high-low-high patterns. This is easier to see in longer words.
ありがとう失礼しますダイエットします
When words are combined, their original intonation patterns are often altered to conform to these two rules. Let's look at an example.
時計 時計、置き時計、置き時計、置き、
is low high and
時計、
is low high high. If we put them together, we should get,
置き時計、
but this doesn't follow the second rule. It rises after having gone down. To Japanese listeners, it sounds very odd to hear the pitch going high again after going down. So once it goes low, it stays low.
置き時計、
The low in the third position changes to high to avoid a second rise. In this video, we have learned the three general intonation patterns at the Japanese word level: low-high, low-high-low, and high-low. We have also learned two rules of Japanese word level intonation. First, the pitch heights are different in the first and second sounds, and second, the intonation does not go back up once it drops. Lastly, we looked at an example of combined words and a change in intonation to follow these two rules. We hope this video has provided you with a brief insight of Japanese intonation so that you can start exploring more.
In conclusion, the task for ESL or EFL teachers in teaching pronunciation should not be limited to eradicating all traces of a foreign accent from the student's speech, but rather, instead of expecting precise accuracy, through tedious pronunciation drills or repetition, more emphasis should be placed on raising communicative value of the student's pronunciation so that what they produce would be more comprehensible to others. So we go now to the morphological aspect of Japan. Okay, according to this research study, Japanese words often have variation in orthography, and the vocabulary of Japanese consists of words of several different origins. It sometimes happens that more than one writing form corresponds to the same lemma and that a single writing form corresponds to two or more lemmas with different readings and meanings. To resolve any ambiguity, the researcher used Gosho for information, which is the classification of words based on their origin. So here is the video that I'm going to share to you.
How exactly are words formed? There are several different ways, such as compound, reduplication, blending, acronym, clipping, and so on. Let's take a look at compound first. In Japanese, a compound may be any combination of free words, combining forms, and affixes. Here are some examples: noun plus noun, adjective plus noun, adjective plus adjective, noun plus adjective, verb plus verb, verb plus noun, and noun plus verb. Noun plus noun can be something like kawa plus zakana, which is river plus fish. This is the Japanese word for a fish from the river. Adjective plus noun can be something like kuro plus fune, which is black plus ship. This is the word for Commodore Matthew Perry's black ship. Another example of a compound word would be noun plus adjective, kokoro plus tsuyoi. This is heart plus strong, and kokorozuyoi is the Japanese word for encouraging. Other compound words are usukurai, which is dim, iki kaeri, which is to and back, deguchi, which is exit, and hirune, which is noon sleep or afternoon nap. Next, we can take a look at reduplication. Some good examples of this would be hitobito, meaning people, and hibi, meaning days. These words get doubled by its own kanji. But there are other words that don't have kanji. For example, waku-waku, doki-doki, peko-peko, hua-hua, and pika-pika. These 5 words seem to be onomatopoeia in the extended Japanese style. Next, we have blending. A popular word used recently is nominikation. Nomi means to drink, and the nikation comes from communication, communication. Nominikation is a word meaning communicating while drinking. We have another word that is famous worldwide, which is Godzilla. Godzilla in Japanese is pronounced Gojira. This word is actually made from combining gorilla, gorilla, and kujira, which means whale. Another popular word used in Japan is ikemen. Ike comes from iketeru, meaning cool, and men can mean face in Japanese or the English word men. Either way, this word is used to describe handsome men. And finally, we have busukawa. Busu is short for busaiku, meaning ugly, and kawa is short for kawaii, which means cute. This word is used for describing something or someone that carries both cute and not very cute characteristics. Next, we have acronyms. This is very popular in Japan. One of the most used ones are USJ, which stands for Universal Studios Japan, TDL, Tokyo Disneyland, JR, Japan Railways, NG. This is often used for no good or not good. WHI. World Cup is often written with a W and a kanji, hai, which means cup. PV. Promotional videos, usually meaning music video. And KY. This stands for kuki yomenai. K is for kuki, air, and Y is for yomenai, cannot read. This term is often used for people who are not able to perceive what is appropriate to say and do at times. When World Cup and no good are not abbreviated, you can clearly hear the glottal stops, which are also commonly used in Japanese. No good, World Cup. And finally, we have clipping. Clipped words are also very commonly used in Japan. Rosu, short for Los Angeles, Los Angeles. Univa, short for Universal Studio, Universal Studios. Despa. This is actually short for Despereto na tsumatachi, which is desperate housewives. Makudo, or Makku, is short for McDonaldo, McDonald's. Pasokon, personal computer, personal computer. Konbini, this is short for convenience store, convenience store. Stawa is short for Starbucks, Starbucks. And Burapi is short for Brad Pitt, which is our very own Brad Pitt. As you can also hear with these words, Mac, Starbucks, Brad Pitt, they all have the glottal stops.
We go now to the Japanese lexicon. The Japanese language has borrowed many words from foreign countries. Firstly, from China as early as Nara period, and the Japanese word from loanwords or borrowed word. Many Chinese words were mixed into Japanese to the extent they are no longer considered loanwords. Most Chinese loanwords are written in kanji and carry the Chinese reading. So here, multiple words are also shortened, often to 4 syllables. We also have loanwords can be generative, which means relating to or capable of production or reproduction. So thank you so much. That ends my report.